Guess what, guys? Summer vacation has ended, which means that the kids have gone back to school, which means it's Thursday, which also means that it marks the return of After the Poll. Hey, all my webheads out there, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, I am your host, Mike Spider Slayer, always helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy. And guys, I am back. I'm bringing you After the Poll. Now, if you're new to this video series, this is the video series where I take 5 of my most anticipated comic books and I discuss them with you to see if they lived up to the hype. Now, guys, before we get started, if you want to show that extra love and support towards the channel, just go ahead and hit that join button right there on my home screen. You will become a webhead of the channel and you will get extra perks to it. All right, so let's get started, guys, with this week's After the Poll, and we're going to get started with Spider-Man Spider Shadow, the conclusion. This is issue 5, guys, and this is the end of the first story arc for What If Comics. Now, speaking of What If, what did you guys think of that first episode of What If on Disney Plus? The animation was awesome, and the ending was like, holy cow, really? I'm so curious to see where they're going to go with all that, and really great story. Can't wait for it. But speaking of conclusions, let's talk about this one here, Spider-Man Spider Shadow. The turnoff for me on this book is the actual artwork. Facial expressions don't do it for me. Coloring, I thought, was off as well. Mary Jane is in this book and she has black hair. Like, come on, man, that doesn't work. The symbiote on Reed Richards doesn't have tendrils, spiraling out of control. He has this weird red face like Atrocitus from the Red Lanterns. Like, it's just absolutely weird. I just don't get why that's going on, right? Again, facial expressions are off. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't like the artwork in this issue. Now, what did I think about the conclusion to this story? The symbiote is no longer part of Peter Parker, okay? It wound up going to Reed Richards. And part of that reason was Peter had the love for Mary Jane, so it could not love the symbiote. So that's why it kind of went to Reed Richards and it stuck with Reed. And the whole plan that Peter came up with was, you know what, symbiote? If you release everybody, I'll give yourself to me fully. So it winds up releasing from Reed Richards and it winds up trying to go to Peter Parker, right? And in the process, we wound up seeing the symbiote wind up killing Reed Richards. So that's what happens in this issue. So you get to see that right here, right? And you're kind of like, oh, damn, Reed's dead, right? And they played the trick on the symbiote. It's really Johnny Storm that's pretending to be Peter in some imaging thing, and it lights it up on fire and it winds up dying because they found out the weakness in earlier issues of it, right? So the symbiote dies, and the next thing we wind up seeing is that Peter Parker becomes part of the Fantastic Four. Permanently. He's not like a reserve member or Fantastic Five, and it was all right. There were some emotional moments in there between Mary Jane and Peter and Sue and some of the other characters, but for me, the way this ended, it was just okay. I thought this could have been a stronger book. I thought there would have been more ramifications for Peter, maybe a sad ending for Peter when it comes to, him in general, like him still being part of the symbiote, but it's not that. He becomes part of the Fantastic Four, and that seems like a happy ending to me. Now, there is an epilogue in this where it has to do with Kingpin, and it looks like he has in possession a symbiote himself. Now, is this a Carnage symbiote? We don't know, but he does have possession of some type of symbiote. So that's the issue. I thought it was an okay story. I don't think it was the greatest story, but it was entertaining to see how this first one ended up. So we'll see where it goes from here. So the next book we're talking about is a weird one. This is Bunny Mask. This is issue 3. You want to talk about a screwy book that messes with your head and is a complete mystery. you got to read Bunny Mask issue 3 from Aftershock Comics, or just the series in general. You got this strange woman that's running around with this bunny mask that can tell your future by touching your teeth. Yeah, that's kind of strange, right? And you got this guy by the name of Tyler who actually rescued this young girl that was being abused by her father, and came across the bunny mask person when he was, 14 years younger. And now he's having this relationship with the girl that he rescued, but he can't have intimate relationships with her because it's just weird, right? He's like, oh, I rescued you when you're a little girl, now you're an adult, and for me to have sex with you, it's strange, right? So he's having all these issues with that. Plus he's dealing with this entity called the Snitch that is driving him mad. He hears all these voices in his head. He's going insane. He doesn't know what's real, what's fake. And in the meantime, you see the woman with the bunny mask running around, again, touching people's faces, pulling their teeth or touching their teeth, telling them their futures. It's just weird. And the artwork is kind of muddy, kind of dark, and kind of mysterious. And I think it fits the tone of the book. But the thing I want to find out more of is, who is the girl in the bunny mask? We have no idea who she is, where she came from. Her sentences don't even make sense when she talks, right? So it makes it hard for you to understand. And I want to know more about this girl. That girl here that you see in the bed is the girl that he rescued when she was a little girl. And supposedly, this is not that girl. Supposedly, she died in the caves. So if you read Bunny Masks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, I definitely say find this book on the racks, read issues 1 and 2 so you get an understanding of what issue 3 is. And then you'll be just as confused as I am by the time you get done reading this book. It is so crazy, man. But it's so mysterious. And I really love the Bunny Mask character. And who is the snitch that goes in people's heads, causing them to go crazy? I don't know. It's just weird stuff. If you have any more information, put it in the comments below. What do you think about Bunny Mask? If you can explain the story more or better than I can, same thing. Put it in the comment section below. Dude, it's crazy. So Bunny Mask issue 3, definitely a recommend. So the next book we're going to be talking about today is Fight Girls issue 2. Now this is probably my most anticipated comic of the week. This is done by AWA Upshot Studios. This book is a lot of fun. You got 10 women, 4 challenges, 1 has the crown. And the issue 1 was explosive action of all these girls trying to get to a finish line to complete stage 1. Along the way, they battled against dinosaurs, people falling off a ledge, they've gotten eaten by those dinosaurs, and they betray each other. And the main character in this book is the girl with the eye patch, and her name is Xandra Blackwater. And we got to pay attention to her in issue 2 because her character gets fleshed out a little bit more in this particular issue. But the cool thing about this is right from the start, you could pick like which woman you want to have the crown, right? And I think it's awesome. But again, they got 10 challenges, or 10 women, 4 challenges, and who will win. And in this issue, it winds up taking place in the desert. Now, Frank Cho's artwork is absolutely awesome. We get to see it. We get to see sandworms in this issue. There's also some scorpions in this issue, which is awesome. And then you get to see some gigantic monster turtles. And all these women have to do battle against these creatures and try to cross the finish line, which is so much fun, man. So they battle these creatures, they fight each other. But along the way, in between all the battling, we have to find out about Xandra Blackwater, I think is her name, because right from the beginning, she knocked out the favorite girl to win. So it automatically, got attention amongst that main character. And we have some particular person that is doing some investigating when it comes to the character. And we find out that that's not the real Sandra. The real Sandra was actually killed in action. So who is the mysterious girl with the eye patch? So she's set to possibly win this whole thing. She wants nothing more but to win. So I'm very curious here, like, who is this main character that we're dealing with? Is she going to be the winner of this contest? She did not win this particular leg, but this is a series that you must win. Again, it's a gorgeous book to look at. There's so much action. The pacing is nice, and yet it actually has a story besides women just running around after each other trying to get to a finish line, right? But this was cool, man. I definitely say pick up Fight Girls. A book is a must read right there, right? So check it out. So now we're talking about a new #1 from Marvel Comics this week, and this is Defenders issue 1. So I was anxiously awaiting to see how Al Ewing would put this next volume of Defenders together. And let me just tell you, long story short, this first issue, I was not impressed. This book just did not do it for me. Whether it was the interior art and the story itself, it just was a bore fest to me. I could not get into the magic mumbo jumbo that Dr. Stephen Strange is talking about. And there's a lot of backstory here, but I can understand why there needs to be backstory, because we have not been introduced to the Masked Raider since Marvel Comics issue 1000. So they had to tell that story, right? And we had to tell the story about the main bad guy, which is Zodo or something like that. I don't even know, and I didn't even care. This just did not interest me, right? And then we had to see the formation of the team. But you can definitely see the artwork in this book. It's just, for me, it was okay. I don't like the way Silver Surfer looked, and I get it's a book that has to deal with magic, and maybe it needs to be all colorful and poppy and all that stuff, but the story didn't work for me. Again, we had a lot of exposition with the Masked Raider being introduced. You know, he goes to Stephen Strange and says there's a danger, and then they start doing this battle, and then we start talking about who the Masked Raider is, and then who the villain is, and then we need, 80 pages of the team being formed. Let me form my magic so we can get the reverse of all my magical tarot cards. So first, we're going to introduce or grab to you the Silver Surfer. And, Silver Surfer's like, well, why am I here? Like, I have no idea. Then we got to go to the opposite of the High Priestess. So you got to go to Betty Ross Red She-Hulk, You had Hulk in the original Defender, so since you could not get Immortal Hulk, this was your way to bring back a Hulk. So you got Betty Ross in there. Then we wound up getting this weird character by the name of Cloud, who I don't even know who that person is. There was nothing here that really attracted me to the book or made me really care, right? So I was just really bored to tears. And by the time we wound up getting to the end of it, they go to a different multiverse, and somehow, some way, they're fighting Galactus's mom? Is that what it is? Because it says the next issue, Galactus' mom has got it going on. And I'm like, really? Like, this is the best you can come up with? Like, I don't know. This just did not entertain me whatsoever. I would have loved to see maybe some kind of galactic threat, and somehow we acquire the team one by one to try to take on this threat. And, one person or one teammate wasn't enough, and then maybe you had to summon another. But this just felt like rushed, and there was just too much, like, explaining. It was all over. It was just all over the place for me. I did not like this. I don't recommend this. I don't know if I'm going to give it another issue. Being what kind of cliffhanger that we had, this is definitely a disappointment for me. So this might be an instant drop. We'll see. Let me know in the comments below, guys. So the final book that we're going to be talking about today is a book that I was very curious about, excited about, and also nervous about. And this goes to Avengers Tech On Avengers, right? Why couldn't they just name it Tech On Avengers? I don't get the Avengers Tech On Avengers. This one is done by Jim Zub. Now, I was worried about this book because I thought it was going to be too similar to Avengers Mech Strike, right? And in one way, it kind of is, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But this book was a lot of fun. Like, this is the reason when I was a kid why I got into comic books. Because of books like this. This is just pure straight out fun and just pure out action. Here is the interior artwork. We get to see Thanos introduced in this book just for a very brief moment. So it's got this like anime cartoon like style of artwork. So it was very cool, very detailed. There you get to see that character there. Yeah, that's Red Skull. So that's kind of cool, right? All right, so let's talk about this book because I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with this one. So we get to see a backstory of the Avengers. They take on Thanos. They defeat him. They destroy the Infinity Stones. They destroy them, right? Then they're at the Avengers Tower complex, and all of a sudden something goes horribly wrong. The Red Skull comes and attacks, and he's in this exoskeleton, crazy ass like armor and shit like that. And he's just like, "Oh yeah, you Avengers, you guys are gonna die. You know, you're at my mercy." And he starts playing with them, and just turning civilians into monsters and whatnot. Takes Wolverine, throws him like a little rag doll, practically kills him, and then all of a sudden we see that the Red Skull has the power of the stones, but they are called IMS, Infinity, get this name, Infinity Mirror Shards. So he wound up collecting pieces of the stones and uses the dust to gather his power. Now, it's not as strong as, say, Thanos having the stones, but it's better than nothing, right? He still can change reality a little bit and be super strong. So what he does is he takes away all the superpowers from the heroes. So that's cool. So everyone's weak. So Wolverine no longer has his healing factor. So he's forced to be in a medically induced coma because the adamantium could kill him, right? We wind up seeing Captain America. You wind up seeing him with no super soldier serum in him. Captain Marvel doesn't have her powers, right? Peter Parker does not have his powers. So these are all normal people walking around trying to do superhero things with no superpowers. The crazy thing, though, is, and this is kind of the one thing where Mech Strike and Tech On have in common, where T'Challa actually gets involved, and because of his vibranium, he's able to kind of put the fight at a stalemate and make Red Skull retreat, right? Again, vibranium is kind of like the solution to all problems, right? So he causes Red Skull to escape. Then what happens is it gives our heroes a chance to regroup, find out what's going on. Tony Stark to do some research to see if they can do battle against Red Skull. They found a base where Red Skull is being held at. They try to infiltrate it. We get to see another battle getting ready to start. Red Skull's all overconfident. Next thing you see, he's trying to fire his power weapons, and then they come out with the Tech On armor, right? So at the end and at the very last page, you wind up getting to see our heroes with their Tech On armor, and it's so much fun. It's pretty cool because you get to see, Iron Man with his armor, but you get to see Captain Marvel with her new Iron Man armor. Wolverine, I guess, has an armor. He recovered from his coma. SpiderMan has an Iron Spider armor. Captain America got a new, looks like Optimus Prime armor, and Black Panther has his armor too. So really, really cool. This is like Sentai inspired type of book, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. This is a book that you can't take too seriously, and you just have fun. It's part of the reason why you got into comic books in the first place. So definitely a lot of fun. I recommend this book, one of my favorites of the week. So there you have it, guys. There is the return for After the Poll. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Now I want to know in the comments below what you guys thought of these comic books and some of your other favorite comic books that you read for the week. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell and receive all notifications from me so you don't miss any content from me. And if you like the content, I'll leave you more content right here to check out. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy those comics. Keep buying, keep collecting, and keep reading. Take care. Bye.